My daughter suggested I watch the Apothecary Diaries. And I've only watched episode 1, but it's pretty clear to me that Lady Gyokuyou is a murderous psychopath.
Huh?
Let me explain by starting at the end. We see Maomao brought into Lady Gyokuyou's chambers, and Lady Ji thanks Maomao for saving her daughter, the princess.
For saving the life of my precious Lingli, I am in your debt.
You see, in the palace, all of the emperor's heirs have been dying shortly after childbirth. They thought there was some sort of curse. When Maomao showed up, Lady Gyokuyou's daughter, the princess, and Lady Lihua's son, the prince, were both ill. However, after witnessing a confrontation between the two ladies in the courtyard, Maomao quickly deduced that the problem wasn't some sort of supernatural curse. It was simply the cosmetics they were using. Apparently, the cosmetics were toxic, and I guess they were being applied to babies. I don't quite understand that part. Anyway, Maomao, being a common laundry girl, she couldn't just go up to the ladies and say, "Hey, I understand what's going on here. You're being poisoned by the cosmetics." She had to write anonymous notes. Lady Lihua sees the note attached to a flower and just brushes it off the windowsill. I think we're supposed to believe that Lady Lihua is bitter and cold-hearted and doesn't even like flowers. Anyway, she doesn't get the message, and a month later, the prince dies because she doesn't learn about the poison. Lady Gyokuyou, on the other hand, reads the message, promptly gets rid of the poison. Oh wait, the poison's sitting right there on the table. That's odd, isn't it? Anyway, we'll get back to that. Realizes the cosmetics are poison, so they no longer apply them to the princess or whatever they're doing with them, and the princess gets healthy. The prince dies, but overall a happy ending. The princess lives, and Maomao is promoted to lady in waiting. A mostly happy ending, orchestrated by a psychopath. Lady Gyokuyou's treachery is pretty obvious just looking at this timeline. I mean, there's several things we could look at, but let's start with the most obvious. That 1 month gap between her learning about the poison and the prince dying. You mean there's no way in that 30-day period that she could have found a way to reach out to Lady Lihua and let her know to stop using the cosmetics? I mean, Lady Gyokuyou tells us she tried.
After I saw the message, I went to tell concubine Lihua of its troubling contents. But it seemed like everything I said only served to make her believe me less.
In her story, she's in the courtyard and Lady Lihua just rebusts her. She wants nothing to do with her. But think about it. If your kid's dying and your most hated enemy comes up to you and says, "Hey, by the way, I know why your kid's dying. He's being poisoned. Wouldn't you at least listen?" And if your heart was so bitter and closed that you wouldn't even listen to her, there's like 20 other people standing around. Don't you think one of them would have said, "Hey, could be, maybe we should tell the emperor or the doctor or somebody about this poison"? But none of that happened. The prince died, which means Lady Gyokuyou never said anything. She kept her mouth shut. And the reason's pretty obvious. I mean, we know that Lady Gyokuyou was the emperor's favorite. We were told that.
Emperor's favorite lies firmly with Lady Gyokuyou.
But as long as there's a prince, Lady Gyokuyou will always be in the shadows of Lady Lihua.
Lihua gave birth to a prince. Her position is assured.
That prince had to go. It was obvious in that scene where Lady Gyokuyou was waiting to see the physician, the prince. He'll get to you when she can. The prince.
It won't be long now. The physician is just seeing to the young prince.
He'll get to you when he can. And what'd she say? She said, "I see."
I see.
Yeah, she sees. She sees that prince has to go. That's why when she learned about the poison, she kept her mouth shut.
It was barely a month before the sorry news spread around the palace. The infant prince had finally succumbed.
1 month later, the prince dies. Pretty awful, right? That doesn't even begin to scratch the surface. It gets so much worse. You see, it's not just that Lady Gyokuyou let the prince die. Oh no. Check out the timeline. The princess was born 3 months before the prince, and during that time there was no problem. In fact, when they delivered the news about the prince being born to Lady Gyokuyou, check it out. That baby's perfectly happy.
Thankfully, the prince was born without issue.
I see. Wonderful.
But then the prince is born, and the prince starts getting sick. It wasn't some accidental cosmetic thing. You know who was behind it. That's right, Lady Gyokuyou. And that's not even the worst part. The prince can't start getting sick and the princess stay healthy, that would cast too much suspicion on the princess and Lady Gyokuyou. So the princess has to get sick too. So on top of poisoning the prince, Lady Gyokuyou starts poisoning her very own daughter, microdosing her with poison to keep her sick. Not to kill her, but just to keep up appearances, just to make sure no one gets suspicious. And this would explain another part of the story. Remember when they were talking about how the physician spends most of the time with Lady Lihua?
Lady Lihua must be suffering the worst of the afflictions. The court physician seems to be attending her the most.
And remember how haggard she was looking from the poison? Lady Gyokuyou doesn't look haggard. That's because she's not poisoning herself. She's only poisoning Lady Lihua, the prince, and her own daughter. But she's happy. She's not crazy enough to poison herself. So now we've established that Lady Gyokuyou has managed to poison the prince, is poisoning her own daughter to provide an alibi, tangentially poisoning Lady Lihua, and keeping any discoveries that Maomao made about the cosmetics to herself, not letting Lady Lihua learn about it. It seems like all the loose ends are tied up, except for one, the doctor. Now we know that the doctor has been running back and forth between these two women for a long time, looking after the babies. Don't you think, now that Lady Gyokuyou doesn't have to poison her baby anymore because she got the message from Maomao and her baby is getting healthier, that the doctor would say, whoa, your baby's getting healthier. What's going on here? But that never happens, does it? Is the doctor that incompetent? I don't think so. I think the doctor's in on it too. Now, I don't know if Lady Gyokuyou is threatening him or going to bribe him once she regains the throne, once the prince is out of the picture. But the doctor is clearly protecting Lady Gyokuyou. And we can see this if we go back to that confrontation that happened in the courtyard. Remember? Lady Lihua was saying, this is all your fault. And Lady Gyokuyou was like, no, my kid is sick too. You can come by and see if you want.
If you don't believe me, you're welcome to examine my daughter yourself.
And what'd the doctor say at that point? He's like, oh, I don't think that would be a good idea.
I'm not sure that would,
And why wouldn't it be a good idea? Maybe because the baby isn't nearly as sick as the prince. Lady Gyokuyou has only been giving her enough poison to kind of, give her the sniffles or something. It's clear that the doctor's in on it, protecting Lady Gyokuyou. But that's not the only person being pulled into her evil web. There's one other. That last person? Maomao herself.
Huh?
Now, Maomao's told us that servant girls are expendable. They could be killed for the most trivial reason.
We serving girls are considered expendable and can lose our lives for the most trivial of infractions.
So I wouldn't have been surprised if Lady Gyokuyou killed her so that she couldn't cause any more trouble with her meddling. But Lady Gyokuyou's smarter than that. She recognizes talent when she sees it. When Maomao told her that she's an expert in toxins,
I'm familiar with poisons.
she recruited her right away.
Starting today, you're going to be my new lady-in-waiting.
Told her she'd be a lady-in-waiting, apparently, as a reward for saving the baby. But we all know the real reason. If you're going to have a reign of terror in the palace, it's best to have a master poisoner on your side. So I think that sums it up. Pretty clear who the real villain is here. Lady Gyokuyou, the poisoner. The one who killed the prince. For all we know, she's killed all the heirs. I mean, that's not really much of a stretch. Actually, it explains a lot. If you enjoyed how I uncovered the truths about episode 1 and Lady Gyokuyou, be sure to subscribe so you can see my take on episode number 2. Thanks for watching.